Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Artcasters. Surprising that it's on my channel, and also surprising that I'm here. I didn't think I was going to be able to show up tonight. There were some technical difficulties on the entire internet. You might have experienced them, but not here. So we're on my channel tonight, and we'll see how it goes. The thumbnail doesn't have my name in it. It's okay. It's all right. You don't have to redo it, Scott. It's fine. I don't care.
I don't care. I'm not hurt.
Anyway. So the Artcasters, surprise episode on my channel. My name is Kevin Cross, and you are here. Subscribing, liking, hitting the bell, and I don't know, depositing several $100s into all of my bank accounts would be wonderful.
Foreign and domestic.
That's right. And we're going to talk a little bit about creativity and art. And I believe we're talking about. Let me look at the thumbnail that I don't have posted yet.
Kevin doesn't even know. You don't have to. You know what, Kevin? If you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to host it. Run the show. We can.
It's too late now, buddy.
Okay, all right.
Started.
This train.
It's on your channel, but you don't have to carry the conversation. But
this train has started, and Kevin is now the engineer. So
that's right. All right. So we're going to be talking about scripting, first drafts, and story arcs, as we all do scripting as part of our artisanal works. So I'm going to pass it on to Scott.
Yeah.
Why don't you give your introduction?
Okay. Yeah. Since we already did this once before, which we'll probably delete, but this is my book, Young and the Dead. It's a kids versus zombie adventure story. It's available at circworks.com. Over at circworks.com, you can also get links to my other YouTube channels. One of them being Circworks Art Labs, where you can find videos on how to make comics, art advice, and inspiration. I just uploaded a new video today. I haven't even had a chance to look at it and respond to comments yet or see how well it's doing, but hopefully it's doing well. I've been pretty busy, but that's me, Josh.
All right. So I have Not Death But Love, The Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, which is this beautiful book that my publisher just let me know that they're sending the actual hard copies of, which is pretty exciting. So I'll show those off when I get them. This is just an M-blot, which is like a preview you send retailers and stuff. But it's a 240-page graphic novel about Elizabeth Barrett Browning, Robert Browning, the famous poets who had a forbidden relationship. She got disowned by her father for marrying Robert, and very famous poet known for How Do I Love Thee, Let Me Count the Ways, Sonnet 43. And there is a love triangle. There is supernatural spiritualism. There are Victorian seances. There are musicians. There's forbidden love. It's a great book. I recommend you guys pre-order it and support books made by humans. And also, speaking of books made by humans, follow me on Instagram, Joshua Kemble, to basically keep track of this crazy business. All Duck Cops Are Bastards, which is a short, floppy 24-pager that I'm doing about a duck seeking vengeance against Big Bread for the death of his brother. So that's my wares. Joshua Kemble on YouTube. Right back at you, Kevin.
Okay, so we're going to talk about scripting here, right? Why don't Josh, why don't you take it from here? So that because I think it was your idea for the topic, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Scott kind of sent me his first draft. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there is a first draft of Scott's amazing story, his new comic, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I want to get Kevin's feedback too. So Kevin, I'll have to send you one if you're interested in giving it a beta read.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'll give it an omega read.
You can do the alpha read. Why are you gonna beta this?
Yeah. Man, you're You're gonna go off and get married and come back and you're gonna get delted.
So like the thing that got me thinking about first drafts and story arcs and stuff like that was, Scott, you just finished a first draft. I'm actually at the point of like the rising action right before the climax of this little 24 pager I'm working on. And it just got me thinking about like plot structures and first drafts and stuff like that. And so I thought to kind of start off, maybe we could all share how important are story arcs to like the kind of the process of like writing, because we talk a lot about art and stuff like that. I feel like quite often we've probably touched on this at some point in the years we've been doing this, but I think it's fun to kind of touch base on like some classics of that we rely on for writing. So do you guys use kind of classic story structure arcs when you're starting out on a story?
Just starting out?
Yeah.
I think I use kind of a method that years ago I didn't, but it's kind of what Scott does. I think if you still do this, like mind mapping.
Yeah.
And so generally, like when I start something, the idea always comes. Yeah. Like what Scott's doing there. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. I think what hits me always first is like a really exciting, I'm really excited about it kind of intro that sets everything up, you know? And that seems to come pretty quick. And then I have to mind map. Generally have an ending in mind, or 2 or 3 endings in mind. And then figure out the middle with the mind mapping stuff. And then of course, it's like anything else that's creative. It's not done till it's done. You know what I mean? So like I try to be as tight as possible. But even on this cartoon I'm working on, luckily it didn't change any audio, because at that point I was just gonna like screw it, let this scene go. But the audio doesn't change. But I figured out like a couple things to sneak in there that changed kind of the meaning of the story a little bit. More interesting without. It's more showing than telling. Especially because we're doing, I'm doing like this animation stuff and have done comics, and you guys are doing comics, and you got to do that balance of show and tell. So anyway, I'm probably getting way ahead of myself on that part. How about you, Scott?
So yeah, my process is, like you said, I kind of start off with mind maps and ideas. Well, it all starts with an idea, and and I came up with this idea for Hip Optimus Rhyme, and I don't know, the weird thing is I don't often get a lot of like these ideas that are like, oh, I've got to do this, is amazing. Like I get little things here and there, but like with Young of the Dead and with like especially with Hip Optimus Rhyme, when it came to me and the pieces started coming together, I'm like, no, oh man, I got something here. And so it starts with that idea, and then from there I start, well, okay, and then I ask myself kind of, is there something here? Is there something to build on here? I mean, sure, it's kind of both of these 2 concepts for these books that I have worked on, I'm working on now. They're really good in concept, but does that mean that I can actually do something with it? Mm-hmm. And with The Young and the Dead, it was the case of, that was the one where it was just going to be like a simple 8-page story. And it was originally just meant to be something fun and easy to do in 8 pages. And then once I started getting into it, I started liking the characters. I'm like, oh, there's more to it than that. Yeah. And same thing with Hip Optimus Rhyme. When all these pieces started to come together, I'm like, oh no, this is cool. This is there's actually a story here. And the interesting thing was, as I started writing that story, I'm thinking, this is going to be a really cool, just action, adventure story that's just going to kick ass. And then I'm starting to write it, and then I get into doing the characters. I'm like, oh no, this is deep. These characters and the theme, and there's a message, and it's poignant, and it's topical, and it's historical. And I mean, I really think that, there's a really interesting underlying message to this story. And I was not expecting that when I started writing it. So
you know what? Hip hop is dope.
Yeah. Well, and it's very hip hop. It's very hip hop. It's very, if you're a fan of like Public Enemy, if you're a fan of that type of thing, this is kind of, it's very rebellious. It's very thought provoking, which again, I set out to just do a fun, kaiju rap battle comic. And then I'm like, okay, I think there's a little more to it. So anyway, so it all starts with an idea, and then because an idea can do anything. Maybe this could have been the one that was only just a fun 8-page story. But once you get into it, you start fleshing out these worlds, and all the pieces start coming together, and then you figure, and then you're like, oh no, this is really something. I really have something here. So it starts with that, and then from there, what I do, this is probably a little different than Kevin. I think Kevin does pretty much everything analog, don't you? Do you ever write it? Do you ever take any digital notes?
I do have like the notes app.
Okay, yeah. So
but it all starts on paper. Like, so I'm kind of doing what I'm working on right now. I'm kind of doing it a little bit differently. Than stuff I've done before, because there's a lot of pieces to it now. It's all based around this animated little short I'm working on. And now it's not really about that animated short. It's about a town in a place in 3 different times. I've told you guys this before.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've said it on Artcasters, and I'll just kind of tease it a little bit, and that's what it is. And that's where I'm going. So, so like this isn't going to give anything away. But yeah, this is the first phase of everything that is not the animated film, but a story that is part of the world, and that does tie directly to a specific character that's in it for now, the animated film. But yeah, so it's all analog. And then the important things like to-dos, I do have like files in the notes app, so that when I'm out doing delivery driving and there's a lull, or today I was working doing odd job stuff with the contractor, at the lunch break, I had an idea, and I'll jot it down. But then what I do is my famous little notebooks. I'm saying they're famous now because I always talk about them. And then they get transferred into here. But there's something for me. Analog is, I like it better, and it's not just because I do think we need to start doing things more offline, but as human beings. But it's something I've always had for decades now, especially since the smartphone. But if I did something on my computer and it stayed on my computer, or now the smartphone over the past almost 20 years, I guess, sometimes out of sight, out of mind. And if I write things down, it sticks better with me. So it's more that than me being the curmudgeon. Like, I remember when we used to drink from the hose and all that stuff. It's more. It just helps me remember, keep track of things. Something about typing versus actually using a pen or pencil.
Yeah,
that's really it. There's nothing more to it than that. Really.
Yeah. So it's kind of similar to my process. So the reason why I asked about, because I I have a kind of a mixed method with some analog, some digital, but I do have the notes app too. And basically because anywhere I am, I usually have my phone. And if I get an idea or if I'm laying in bed at night, I don't keep a notepad by my bed, but I keep my phone. So sometimes I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, here's an idea. So jot that down. And so it just starts off with a list of just disparate ideas that have, that don't make a lot of sense. And then, so that's kind of the first thing is just, I guess, just kind of research and collecting ideas, then taking those ideas and looking, well, does any of this stuff fit together? What do I really like? What do I want to get rid of? And in the same thing in that app, in the notes app, I'll kind of different character notes. And that's been a pretty long process since it's probably up until now. Cause I mean, it's coming up on a year when I really started the process of kind of creating this world and everything. And I'm just now got this first draft of this script done, and I'm basically starting the drawing. I'd like to start if possible tomorrow. But even though the script's not totally final, but it's at a point where things that'll change right now probably won't change a lot of the panels and imagery as much as like dialogue choices, things like that. So, and I'm being careful at which pages, because I'm doing this kind of out of order. I'm being kind of careful at which pages I start drawing. So I'll still be kind of working on the script here and there a little bit as I'm drawing the book. So, but yeah, so anyway, I get all the information, and then I just then the scary part is like, now I don't know, I'm guessing you start writing your script analog, because when I'm writing the actual script, I do that digitally. I've got, or at least parts of it. I guess I should rewind a little bit. So I open up my Google Doc and I start, laying everything out so it's formatted the way I like my comic scripts and everything. And I just start writing things and I'll move things around. Maybe I've got another. I also took all my notes app and translated into cut and paste into Google Docs, so I can go in and paste things. And it's just a lot of just back and forth. I try to just do a quick, straight, start to finish plot, beat, and then I go back in and like I try not to be too particular about if I'm saying the right things or if the dialogue's right or anything, just to get the beats down. And then I'll go back and then I'll go through a little bit more. And it's almost kind of like going back and chiseling away a little bit here, almost like when you're drawing, when you're sketching, it's really rough. Then you tighten a little bit, then you go back in and you tighten a little bit more until you get it. Like if you're working on a gesture or something, it's kind of like that. The interesting thing with this first script is, there's a lot of backstory about this world that I wanted to try to get across, and it's a lot of exposition. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. You could do like Star Wars and have a scroll, or like sometimes in the beginning of like a fantasy movie they'll have a kind of another type of scroll where it just tells you about the world or whatever. And I didn't want to do any of that.
You should get someone like Morgan Freeman just to narrate.
Yes. Yeah.
So Scott's comic book is called.
Yeah, right. So basically, and this kind of came even later, not too long ago in the process, that I knew I wanted to have, because the main character, she's kind of really smart and everything, and a good student and everything, and I figured, and the book starts in a school, and she's kind of, and this may sound a little boring, but
is it an old school?
It's an old school. It's in this city that's actually been devastated by a kaiju attack, so it's very kind of run down. The whole city is, but so she gets up, and I was just gonna kind of have her do like a report, and then I'm like, you know what, this is Hip Optimus Rhyme. I'm gonna do the whole report as like a spoken word poem, which kind of solved two problems. one, I think it makes the exposition interesting. It gives you an insight to all the backstory. It gives you an insight to her because she's the one telling the story, and it's very personal to her. So you get an insight to what she's all about. And also because of the way they sit, I mean, the idea is that in this world there was a kaiju war, and it left the city. They defeated the kaijus, but the city of New Spark, which is basically New York, it's an alternate reality version of New York, has just been devastated. It was never really rebuilt. So it's, anyone that had the wherewithal moved out of the city, and everyone else is just kind of left behind to kind of fend for themselves. So that's kind of the world that they're living in. Now, while that's happening, all these giant mechs and things have been outlawed in favor of like autonomous robots. But these kids, they go, this is, and it kind of, it mirrors the rise of hip hop. So if you imagine in the late 70s, early 80s, hip hop is coming up. But while that's coming up, these guys are taking these giant mechs and they're rebuilding them in secret to have these giant rap battles. And they rig them up with speakers where the weapons used to be and things like that. So the problem is that doesn't really, you don't really get to see much of that until like the second, third, and fourth issue. But I needed to still get the action of that kaiju war, which we do in flashback, which there's a lot of action and adventure in, but it's telling us what happened in the 60s before hip hop. So there wasn't enough, it didn't feel like there was enough hip hop in this first issue. But once I decided to do the spoken word poem to do the exposition and all the other stuff that I mentioned as far as character development, then now it really feels like hip hop, because a big portion of that is all told in rhyme and everything. So anyway, that part was a relatively new direction to go in, and I'm kind of so glad I did it. But when I started writing, and that was
wait, Scott, new direction.
Yes. I thought I was gonna get that by you, Josh.
Not one shall pass.
Right. No.
Not one direction or a new one.
Right. Anyway, but that was the poem was the most challenging part of the whole scripting process. The poem took way longer to write than the rest of everything kind of put together. And the way I approached that, a lot of that was done analog with just a notebook and me taking scene by scene, because I already had the scenes played out, but I didn't know what the poem was going to be. So taking each scene and like, okay, what's happening in this scene? How do I tell this? How do I make it rhyme? How do I do all the wordplay? How do I do all that stuff? And so from there, I just took a notebook. And again, this analog, every idea, like I take whatever happens in the scene, and I wrote every single word or related phrase or anything or idiom or anything like that I thought kind of went with this. And most of that I didn't even use. But then when I went into like, okay, now I'm going to start writing this, I had just this book of just like all these resources and ideas to pick, and like, okay, that I can use. Or if a rhyme popped in my head, I'm like, okay, that's good. And then I start writing it, and it's very, I think it's pretty complex as far as like the wordplay and the way it's written, because it's not just the end of every line rhymes. There could be 2 or 3 rhyming scenarios or rhyme schemes in a line, in a verse that could go back. I played and moved and messed around with that thing for the longest time till I think I got it where I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, so, you guys, it's not gonna read like my name is Scott,
right?
And I'm here.
This isn't. Yeah, it's not like
Two Live Crew where they never in a major way.
Yeah, it's not like Two Live Crew where they've never rhymed a word with more than 2 syllables. It's so. But anyway, so that's. Kind of a long story as far as process wise, but that'll kind of give you a hint into, how I'm approaching this and just the various levels of kind of back and forth. And what I'm hoping is now that I've kind of got in the groove, that the rest of the issues won't be as complicated, Because do you find that, guys, if you're doing a continuing story, if you kind of get an idea and you get familiar with what you're writing, that the other say issues, or the further you go, it hopefully becomes a little easier.
Well, I'll just say it's real fast. We got to hear from Josh though. But it's on my mind. So when I'm getting in the groove and I just want to bust a move, what happens is that no. So what I'm doing now that's a little bit different than how I wrote before. And I guess it did before. It does get easier because it's like that cliche. You know, these characters are now writing themselves. I think that's really true.
Yeah,
in a sense. Mm-hmm. And now that like at first I had this idea of tying in this music project with this fictional direction where it's one of my new directions, Josh. And that one's for you, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Because I didn't just want to do like a production vlog or something like that. So I was like, what if I did something interesting for my videos instead of just being like, hey, I'm working on my cartoon today. And then I was like, oh, I can tie this into this world, and that's where it became. It's different eras of this in the same place. And so at first it was just kind of a cool idea, but how the hell am I going to do it? Right. So I just decided, well, the shortest project of these like three kind of, I don't know if they're pieces of this bigger thing. Or just start writing ideas down that would tie in characters from like the 1960s to the 70s, back to the Old West, up to the modern times, and just little ideas like that. And I just start on this short project that takes place in the 1960s. And then I was just like, just driving around doing deliveries, not listening to the radio. Pro tip, sometimes silence.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love the loud ass music, stuff like that, and then just things start popping. Oh, I could tie in this line from the 60s that seems like it could like tie in really well to this other character, and that's back in the past in this world, and blah blah blah. And it was kind of clumsy, and now it's just kind of like there's too much almost. But a thing I'm doing a little bit different is I'm letting the script minus the cartoon. That script's done. It's solid. Going back to the digital. That is saved digitally several places and in a notebook. Because I don't want to lose any of it. Because I'm really proud of it. Also. Probably more than anything I've written. But
that's cool.
Just it started off real clumsy, and then just I was just thinking of like all these characters, and then I realized like one character was like this is pretty male dominant. I need another female character. Kind of changed the dynamic for one thing, made it better, made things more balanced too. But so. But yeah, I guess that's a long way to answer yes. It's getting easier, and things are starting to write itself.
Yeah, it's interesting, like because you brought up the characters and you finding that it was a little more male dominated. Because in this book, I'm doing something a little different that's kind of scared the hell out of me a little bit. That I'm just worried that I'm going to get it wrong, because the main character is a black female teenager. It's like, okay, can I write this character? But I really like her. It's like I'm starting to write. I'm like, oh man, she seems real, And I've got a daughter, so I can kind of I've seen my daughter grow up, so I know think I know a little bit about like teenage girls, but it's still hard to, I just worried that I wasn't going to get it right. But so far, I think it came out good. Everyone that's read it so far seems to like the characters. They like the two main characters. There's two main characters were kind of introduced in this book that their kind of relationship and kind of, you know, them getting to know each other, things like that. So I don't know. I'm kind of I kind of want to pat myself on the back a little because I think I pulled it off. So we'll see.
You know, we're getting older. We better start making good things.
Yeah. Well, the one thing is the
crap.
other thing
I'm making ad tab.
The thing that I'm not up against in writing a teenager is I don't set my stuff. I set my stuff in the around the time when I was a teenager. So I don't have to try to. I don't want to sound like the meme, like the hey fellow kids, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So because I can write. It's I know the terminology. I know the slang. I live
guys.
through all
The script. It's so believable as a teenager. They say 6'7" a lot.
Yeah.
And skibbity and just all sorts of believable teenage stuff. No, I think I'm glad you guys kind of pointed that out because like before structure, generally like even this like all duck cops are bastards thing literally just started. I have an aide in one of my classrooms, and we had like I had to do a demo for my class, and so I was like, just tell me an animal to draw, and they're like, draw a duck, and I'm like, okay. But the duck's got to have like a vocation. I don't know. What would a duck do? Okay, I'll just draw like a cop duck. And then like we draw the duck cop and we start riffing, you know, while everybody's doing their studio work in class. Well, why would a duck become a cop, right? And it's like, well, he's clearly upset because like somebody, you know, somebody killed his brother feeding, because you're not supposed to feed ducks bread at the park or whatever. And then it just grows out of that. Like, okay, so then why does he become a duck a cop so that he can basically take vengeance on bread? And then from there, this dumb idea just sticks around and starts growing into like, well, like he's going to join the police force. He'll have a partner. He starts cracking down on this giant scheme that this bread company has to like up sales, to like sell bread to knowing full well that they're killing ducks. And so it's like, it becomes this whole kind of ridiculous action movie plot with a bunch of bread puns, but like, and following a story arc with like a beginning, an inciting incident, you know, like a rising action, a climax, falling action, resolution, conclusion, right? But like, it is interesting how a lot of the process is, and I hate doing this living near Los Angeles because everybody who lives in LA would get this. Anyone who doesn't may not. But whenever you make allusions to improvisation, it brings to mind being invited to a really bad improv show in college where you're like, crap, this is going to be horrible, but I have to go because my friend's in it. But to be honest, like the kind of practice of like yes ending, I think is a really important part to the creative process, which is why it's helpful to have, like Kevin, you were mentioning it, Scott was mentioning it, those like silent moments in the car where you have no music, you almost allow yourself to get bored.
Yeah. I think
because
boredom is important to the creative process.
Yeah, because you're allowing your mind to like yes end yourself, where you're like, okay, but like if that happened, then what? And then what? And why would that be? And you start kind of filling in those holes with like weird ideas till it starts kind of taking shape. That's where like at that point, that's where I find plot structure helps, because you can end up in that trap, and we've all talked about that, the Lord of the Rings trap, you know, where you end up like creating the Silmarillion, but you never make Lord of the Rings, because you're just like, you know, filling endless books with like this is, and then this will happen, and then this person, and they wear this costume because of this, like it can go forever. With a mind, I think like, I don't know, I think all three of us are a little neurodivergent, so we could probably go forever with that. So having that structure of, wait a minute, I need like a solid inciting incident. Like hero's journey arc, or I'm going to follow like this plot structure, I think the structure kind of helps like boil it down so that when you start getting to drafts, you can trim off some of the fat. Because I do think, like Scott, what impressed me about your first draft is it's very economical. Like you have a lot in there, but it's pretty clear that you've thought about a lot of things about this character and about this story, and you're showing us glimpses of some of those things. So that's why I was kind of curious about like ARCS, because like does that help to kind of bring in the structure at some point to kind of almost like rein yourself in to be like, yeah, I know this extra detail about the pasta that my character likes eating, but like, do I need to include that, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like I was talking a little bit before about the kind of the character's backstory, you were asking me some questions and I kind of elaborated on another thing that's interesting that we won't even be introduced to until later. So there's a lot of that stuff that I have in mind, and I may drop little seeds. There was nothing in particular in this issue about a bigger part of this character's backstory, but I will kind of drop a little bit of it. But I like that you thought that it was economical, because that was the hardest part, because there's so much to get into this world and who this character is to get across. The other thing that I'll probably do, Josh, and from the script that you read, I think I'm gonna add maybe 2 to 4 more pages, because I think visually, and because there's a lot of the spoken word poetry, I think it's going to be too much words on like a page, and I think I can kind of spread that out a little more. So that's something that I'm probably going to do, because there's a lot of, while this poem is being recited, we see the action adventure unfold as she's describing what happened in the past with these kaiju. So it's going to be very visual, and there's going to be a lot of, because that was the other thing when you always wonder how to get the action in when you're essentially starting a story and trying to do the origin, trying to lead up to things. I mean, you can always do, it's a trope, and it works well, but you can always do the thing where you just start in the middle of the story, have the big action scene, and work back to how did we get here.
Yeah.
I thought about doing that.
Or you start at the end, right? Where it's like, the superhero's upside down.
Yeah. Right.
Tied up and chained or something, about to get murdered. And it's like, how did I get here? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can definitely do that. But I think I'm hoping the way I did it, it works. And it seems like most people kind of dig it. But the as far as like you talking about the story structure, I mean, when you're working, because I'm also kind of writing in a single issue format, whether I actually put out single issues, which I'm leaning towards doing, but even if it's just online and it's just done in chapters, I mean, you don't get the full story arc in one issue. So you still have to create a satisfying, like, in my opinion, every chapter of a comic should have some interesting like cliffhanger.
I think it should still be a three act issue if you're doing multi issues.
Yeah,
that's how I like, because I find when I read somebody's work that's like that, it's more exciting. And when I'm writing it, it's more exciting for me.
Yeah.
So I still think like you want to have like, and it sounds complicated, and I think it was when I was younger, but now I'm old, so just got got some time. But each issue would be a 3 issue arc, and then the say 4 to 6 issues, whatever makes up the graphic novel or the trade or however you're going to do it. That's also a 3 issue. Or sorry, 3 act. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
I don't know, Josh. Do you think there's 3 acts? I don't know. I don't necessarily know that there's 3 acts in the first issue.
I mean, you don't have to.
Right.
It's just I'm just saying that's.
I feel like you have a 1 act. No, you have 2 acts, or 2 main kind of settings.
Yeah. There's there's the flashbacks, and then there's the present day.
So you do have a full arc which I will tell like anybody who's potentially going to read Scott's new story once it comes out, like that first issue will be fulfilling in the sense that there is a beginning, middle, and end of a story.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like when I say like in the first like say issue has to be a 3-act play, I don't mean it has to be grand. Like it can be like much more subdued than it's going to get later. You know what I mean? Just so that there's like a flow and dynamics.
Yeah, but no, I do get what you're saying, Kevin, and I tend to agree with that because like, but I do think in a weird way he kind of starts with like a act 1, and then it kind of stops like mid act 2 with like a big freaking cliffhanger, which I think is a
actually
great
there's kind of a couple. There's kind of a at the end. There's 2 big reveals.
Yeah,
there's one that
but there's one that has like there's one that's a cool reveal.
Yeah,
right, with the payoff.
Right,
and then another that's just like you better get the next issue.
Right, that's kind of what I want. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think like, but I do get what you're saying, Kevin, with the 3-act structure. I think that is a good like rule of thumb. I think in general, just having the structure though is like a safety net to not end up with like we talked about bad stories a few episodes back, and I think that's one way to avoid like those disappointing stories, you know, where you like maybe at some point saw like a TV show you were really disappointed with or something, you know, and it's like I think one of the ways to avoid like the ending of Lost is you have that overall structure.
Yeah.
Because Lost is all about the constant save the cat structure, but there's no like resolution at the end where you're it all makes sense. It's it's just at the end it's like, hey, we just kept dangling carrots and there's nothing to it.
Yeah, you know? And then when the show ended, the lead writers were like, we didn't know how to end this.
Yeah,
we didn't know. They admitted they didn't know where they were going.
Yeah, which sometimes can work with like I think of like a character-driven story like Magnolia, that movie, where it ends with just like frogs raining from the sky. It's like a weird ending. But it's kind of a perfect movie, and watching it, I've never been able to go, well, they could have ended that better, because I'm just like, it got so deep with all the characters, I have no idea where they were going to go. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with that. But you have to like do some extreme work to pull that off as a writer. Like, you know, unless you're making Magnolia, don't do it. This is my point. But yeah, first drafts though. So Scott, how do you sit down and do your first draft? Because you have this great idea. Same with you, Kevin. What gets you over the barricade? Before we go on, though, I do want to point out, just for my buddy Kevin here, can you see this Don Knotts looking dude that I'm throwing in here? Right there.
Yep.
I wanted one of the guards.
It's kind of blurry, but when you're pulling it up, I saw it clear for a second.
But one of the guards I want to have look a little bit like Don Knotts.
Oh man, you know I love Don Knotts.
I was just thinking like Apple Dumpling Gang, and then I was like, oh wait a minute, you and I have had long Don
Knotts conversations.
Oh, really? I wish I was around for those. I love Don Knotts too.
Yeah, Don Knotts is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, now I can see it better actually. Where it is right now. Yeah, it's great. That is great. One of the things that just off topic for half a second. One of the things I got in about 3 months ago or something like that. I went to this little independent thrift store, and I got not the full set, but you don't need to watch it in order. But I got partial season 1 and 2 of the Andy Griffith Show.
Yes.
And because it was partial, it was like 50 cents. I think they're like both missing like a disc each or something like that. I only miss it because I love that show.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Anyway, watch it on our my friend when we were going to high school. My best friend, he lived right across the street from the high school, so sometimes we'd go home to his house for lunch, and Andy Griffith would always be on, and we'd watch it.
Nice.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
us, for me, at like a senior year where we were allowed to go home for lunch, we would watch Unsolved Mysteries
No,
every
yeah.
lunchtime.
Anyway, what was your question about the writing again? Before we start talking about Don Knotts.
Well, it was more like the story structure.
Oh.
You know, like the plot structure. You were talking about the 3-act arc, but it's just like, does it help you rein in and avoid waste? Like waste meaning like things that are interesting to you but don't serve the story.
Right. Because you don't want to do that. Unless you're not going to show other people, I guess. But how do I answer that? Because it kind of fits in for me with that. Having limitations makes things better.
Yeah,
and so it's not to say like if all of a sudden a new idea pops up that I'm like, oh, this will make this better. I've got to fit it in. It's rather I work it in, and maybe other stuff gets cut, so that it sticks within the limitations I set out. Because I do kind of come up with rules like this all these notes here that I showed earlier. There's about 3 good rules on here that only two of them I've come against. Where I'm like, it would just be so much easier if I just broke my rule here. But I don't, you know, I think I got a better result having a limitation. So almost like if you have guardrails,
yeah,
you want to do some cool trick or something like that, you got to figure it out within those guardrails, because you're going to figure out something probably cooler, and you'll end up surprising yourself, which also adds to the fun for you. And I think the audience is gonna, I think they're gonna feel that, because I think I feel it when other, writers or comic artists or filmmakers or whatever, musicians, when they do that, you know what I mean?
As silly as it is, it kind of reminds me of like the stupid duck cop thing I'm doing, right? Mm-hmm. One of the key rules about it, outside of just story structure, just character rule, is like he can't talk. He just says quack. That's half the bit of the humor of it.
Yes, so you got to do like acting. You got to figure out acting now.
But also
right?
So he has a partner who kind of translates for him and narrates. And then also for somehow all the characters understand what he's saying. Like that's half the humor, is like he'll just be like quack and they'll be like, I didn't do it, duck up, and he's like quack, like I think that's great.
I like that. I mean, first Star Wars movie when it came out, I was 6, I think.
Yeah, it's totally Chewie rules.
And Chewie rules. And up until maybe until the 80s happened, when I was getting just a little bit older, I just thought, that's Han just speaks Chewie. You know, it didn't faze me. It worked. But anyway,
love that.
So structure. Do how about you, Scott? Rules for yourself? Limitations?
As far I'm trying to think if I set any kind of, I mean, with any world you build, you have rules. I mean, you it's like the idea that you can have your world do whatever you want as long as you establish the rules in the beginning. So mine is fairly grounded. It's basically an alternate reality. So it's I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to think if there's any particular, if I made any particular rules and I'm like, oh, this, you don't want to break this, because it's fairly grounded in reality. There's things like, because there's things that I'm still kind of trying to figure out exactly, because yes, it is an alternate reality, so I don't want to go too sci-fi as far as, but in a way I kind of have to, because the idea that they built these piloted mechs and then they outlaw them and now they're autonomous, but obviously that technology wouldn't have existed. There's no, I don't call it, one rule is I don't call it AI. even though it's similar to AI. I don't call it AI because that seems very much now.
Yeah.
So I say I use the like if they're describing these robots, I call them automatons, which is kind of an old way of describing. Like
I mean that goes way back to like,
even
the like hundreds of years ago.
Yes, H.G. Wells type stuff.
Yeah,
so,
but even farther.
Yeah.
No, like one of the first mechanical people, like
there was
called automatons. Yeah,
there was a it was like a trick, a scam, like a gag in the 16 or 1500s maybe.
Yeah.
There was actually a guy working it. It was a puppet, and it like played chess.
Yep.
But they rigged it where the guy was this chess master, and he would like I don't know if he was stealing money or something.
I think it was like under the table.
He was,
Like,
but they made him look like that Zoltar that you know that gives you your fortune. But they called that an automaton.
Yeah. So and it's not a word you hear much anymore. So I like it because if they were saying it back then and it made sense, then I can say it in like an 80s and it's still because I mean
it made sense to us in the 80s.
There was Terminators in the 80s. Now, granted, those things came from the future, but still, I still think I can kind of make it work. I mean, we're dealing with kind of war games technology, like, and it is alternate reality, so things can advance in different ways than
sure.
Actually. But yeah, so one of the rules is never use the word AI, but it is definitely an allegory.
But you're
AI.
alluding to AI, which I love.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is like how important is that to do now, even though it's like a fun action story. Yeah. You can say some really important things there, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So as far as rules, like that's one of them. I'm sure there might be other ones that are.
What about like structural rules? Because like
structural rules, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Here's a good
seem
one.
Really structured, Scott. When I read your script, there's a really clear, like it's pretty clear you've got a beginning, middle, and end, and you're not including a lot of fat, right?
Yeah. So here's something that this is a good example. Here's something that Jim brought up after he read it was because I had this big part of this spoken poetry. I mean, it's probably half the script is done in like rhyme. And Jim was like, are you gonna do that in every single issue? And I basically told him, no, it probably won't be as much, but I still want to have the hip hop element. So I do want to have at least in every issue, I want to have some sort of battle between kaiju and robots or a rap battle or something where you're either at some point seeing a creature, at some point seeing the robots in action, at some point getting a healthy dose of like hip hop.
Yeah.
So the hardest one to do that, I think, would have been this first one that I just did, because for one,
Scott, for my sake and Kevin's sake, can you include a mech at some point that's like the bad 80s PSA rap?
Well, that's interesting because if you listen to the main character and deliver her poetry, if I do say so myself, it's pretty advanced. It's not like the early hip hop nursery rhyme.
No, it totally isn't.
Call and response type stuff.
No, but can you have a character?
There will be, yeah.
That?
So
yes,
in the beginning, that's the whole thing, and she's really not. She doesn't come from hip hop.
Okay.
She gets involved in this culture, but she doesn't. That's not where she's from. But she's a poet. But then, kind of like, so when she first meets the MC of this crew, which won't happen until like the next issue or whatever, he's kind of doing everybody say, yeah, everybody, an apple to a pear to a peach to a plum type, nursery rhymey type stuff. That's what's popular. And it's kind of like, and I'll probably have some sort of reference to this, but before Grandmaster Flash's The Message, I mean, they didn't even want to do that song. And if you're not familiar with The Message, it's a very, I don't want to say political, but very socially conscious album, probably the first in hip hop. That they didn't want to do that because they're all about party rap, and that's kind of what the scene is at that point. but when she comes on board, it kind of changes.
Nice.
So there will be some of that. That's kind of up until that point with hip hop. There, it'll be, you don't get the good kind of like back and forth like battle raps like you might see in like an 8 Mile or something between. You'll see some of that stuff, but it's still very much, early, Sugar Hill Gang type.
Because I'm just saying, I want like one of the kaiju, one of the mechs. I want one of the mechs to be like rigged up with like a neighborhood watchdog who just does horrible rhymes.
We'll have the blue blocker guy. We'll have like the blue. Remember that the blue blocker?
A commercial popped into my head. Speaking of the like nursery rhymey type stuff is. I was young, so young. Didn't know about Run DMC and all, because Run DMC, I think opened it up for hip hop for me.
Yeah,
and Beastie Boys, but I knew Beastie Boys as a punk band before that. But anyway, the first time I really heard rap was on a Sprite commercial.
Okay.
I'm
Curtis Fat Boys.
Nope. Way further than that.
Okay.
Curtis Blow. I'm Curtis Blow with the latest trends. You got to know what's out and what's in. Now more than ever, it's Sprite.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
If I mimic him, it'll sound even dumber. But it was that hip bop hibbity pop pop.
Yeah.
Kind of like Sugar Hill Gang, which in that first song about eating casseroles and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that. Curtis Blow. Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court.
That's right.
So yeah,
I love it. I will say I'm so impressed and excited with the first pass.
Yeah, I didn't get to answer your question though, Josh. So anyway, so I do want to have those three elements, almost like when you're watching even like Voltron, say Voltron, you're gonna have the Monster of the Week. And I don't want it to be that formulaic, but I do want somewhere, and not necessarily in the same order or whatever, but I do want there to be some sort of, lyrical aspect to it. Maybe probably not as much as it's in this first issue. I do want you to be able to see the robots, some sort of battle, whether it's a rap battle or whether it's between the kaiju. So there's certain elements like that I want. And because originally one of the ideas that I had played around with, wanted to do, was I was like, can I do this whole story in rhyme like Hamilton? And then I kind of moved away from it because I thought that would be pretty limiting story, as far as, a continuing story where everything, but I think once I decided to do this, at least the backstory, the exposition in rhyme, that kind of satiated that part of my appetite where it's like, okay, I get it in there, but it doesn't all have to be that. So
yeah,
so as far as rules, there'll be certain things that I want to happen in each issue that'll kind of keep it to the theme of what the book's all about.
No, I like that a lot, and I like that you made that choice, because I do think just seeing the dialogue you have laid out with the two characters after the spoken word,
right,
which kind of sets the stage for kind of the hip hop theme of it. I think you made the right choice, because your dialogue's so good. Yeah,
because that's one thing I'd like to do too, is dialogue, and it's you just kind of limit yourself in a lot of ways. I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda pulled it off. It seems almost effortlessly in Hamilton, but also that's not an ongoing story that keeps going and going. You have to tell. Yeah. If it was just one story that kind of concluded, began and concluded, I might have been able to try to do it all, but I don't necessarily know that I want to. So.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it's a continuing thing, maybe you do need those moments anyway of like think of like a musical where it's like a rest where people are actually talking, being like normal, and then they can do their song or whatever,
That's another good thing. That's another thing to mention as far as just pacing. I don't want any book to be all action.
Yeah.
You know, I want those take a breath moments, and I think my book has those where you get a lot of there's a couple pages where not a whole lot's happening, then all the action, you get all the action, then there's a little story after that where things calm down a little bit, and then there's a couple big reveals at the end. So because if it's just action, it's I think you need to pace yourself a little better.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. I think so. Here's a question for you guys. I don't know where we're at. Where are we at time wise, Kevin?
We've been going for an hour.
Okay, because I know we're probably gonna have to cut a little earlier, Scott, for you.
We can go a little longer, but yeah.
Okay. But my curiosity was like, how do you in your first draft avoid the blank page? How do you avoid the rambling on forever? And like basically, how do you kind of get through that first draft? Like,
well, the first part of that question, the blank. I never really worried about the blank page, and I think Kevin's probably will have the similar answer. But because we've had so many ideas that are there that now it's taking those ideas and trying to fit them together. Now,
and in this new, I'm sorry to interrupt, but real quick. In this new story that I'm doing here, I think what I just want to say really quick is I don't think you should avoid rambling at first, because there's lots of rambling I did 25 years ago that was you just got to get it out. Right, because it might beget a better idea. But some of them are really good, and they just maybe don't fit what you're doing. But you want it to, and you try, and then it just doesn't. And I'm using ideas that just didn't fit old stuff that fit really well now. They're not exactly, but it's because I rambled them and I kept them in notebooks. And I'm like, and I forgot about it because I rambled, and I thought, that's I don't know what I called it, just free form writing or something, but it's rambling, and so I think it's good in the beginning. I wouldn't avoid that at all. That's my take on it.
No, I love that. Junk writing for me is huge because like when I'm working on a first draft. Which is weird because I wouldn't call it a first draft when I'm at this point. I almost feel like this is just the junk writing phase where you start writing with a little bit of intention. You have a little bit of a plot structure stuff, but you're also allowing yourself to, like, you have a conversation that comes up in your head and you start typing it up, like with the characters, or like just kind of allow yourself to, again, like that whole like yes ending thing where you're like, okay, and then what, right? How would they responded to this, that kind of thing. Just kind of teasing it out. But I do kind of wonder, because when I was younger, I'd get hit with blank page syndrome a lot. So it's hard for me to think of how to speak to that.
Start from the blank page, that could be a problem. But if you don't, if you just start with like I'm not going to sit down right now and try to write something. I'm just going to, as I go, when I think of a cool idea, I'll jot it down. So you get enough good ideas that then when you actually open that note, that composition book, or open that Google Doc app or whatever, or Microsoft Word or whatever you use, you're not starting from nothing, you know?
Yeah. You know what I'm also thinking is, like, maybe it's when you're younger, you know, a lot of the time the struggle is you want it to be perfect.
That's exactly what I was thinking. When I was younger, you just like it's gotta be the next best thing, right?
Yeah.
And my first comic that I did, God, was I still in elementary? You guys might have remembered me talking about this like 20 years ago, but it was called Ninja Freelance.
That is the best.
Yeah.
And
you really need to remake Ninja Freelance at some point.
You know, I didn't finish the Monkey Mod comic, and he was going to be in it, and I redesigned him. as an entertainment lawyer.
Hey, maybe Ninja Freelance can make a cameo.
He might show up in this because there is every aspect of my storyline from the Old West to the modern times has music in it, as well as illustration and animation and all that stuff. So, and I specifically was thinking because I've had to have entertainment lawyers with my bands, and I was specifically thinking he would be an entertainment lawyer for music. So maybe he will show up. But yeah, see, that's another thing that I would say that, in a sense, came from me being a kid, having a real tough time with it because you remember like movies like American Ninja. So I guess maybe sixth grade I did that maybe.
Yeah,
because it was like American Ninja. Like ninjas were pop culture.
And then we had Kung Fu. Not only that, there is an age where there's nothing cooler than a ninja.
Yeah, but we were also watching like I know ninjas are Japanese, but we also had like there's just martial arts. I'll just say martial arts because like in San Francisco, Kung Fu Theater was on in the afternoon. It was a double feature of like a from like a good like Enter the Dragon Bruce Lee movie to some of the and I love the Shaw Brothers. Some of their stuff is so schlocky.
Oh, it's so bad.
And I love it. My favorite Kung Fu movie of all time, Five Deadly Venoms.
Oh, it's great.
It was only Deadly Venoms in China, but Five Deadly Venoms over here because it made them sound more like superheroes, even though they weren't.
And for some reason, whenever they translated Shaw Brothers titles, they'd have like numbers, like numbers must have sold.
Yeah.
It'd be like the Five Fists of Fear, like it'd be whatever. Like there's always a number.
What's weird about the Five Deadly Venoms is that the Shaw Brothers did a movie, The Kid with the Golden Arm. And the Kid with the Golden Arm is a character in it, and it seems like he's the Five Deadly Venom, but there's actually only 4 Venoms.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so I guess Golden Arms are also venomous. Watch out for them. But
I just
got stuck.
Why was one of the Venoms somebody who just like climbed on walls?
Well, there was the Scorpion, there was the Centipede.
Was it the Centipede?
I think it was the Centipede. Yeah. And it was classic because they did that. Scorpion style. It was one of those movies.
That actually is Scorpion. That's the exact movie that Kill Bill sampled for the like like when she's in revenge mode, like that sound effect was sampled from Five Deadly Venoms.
Such a good movie. The Toad. Toad was a good guy. Scorpion was a bad guy. The Snake. Oh no, there were 5 because there's centipedes. But anyway, Kid with the Golden Arm was in there anyway. But just a little Shaw Brothers continuity for you, everybody. But anyway, I would get really stuck because I would be watching these things as a kid, and I was so. I would spend my money at the convenience store, at the spinner rack, on comic books, Heavy Metal magazine because my parents didn't know boobs were in it. Famous Monsters magazine, and
that honestly probably had a lot to do with kids buying comics.
Well, Savage Sword of Conan, and then I really liked the magazines one back then because of that, but also I felt like I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
So it made it cooler. But also in there, I got Black Belt magazine. And so I just kind of clumped. I was young enough. I didn't really maybe because I remember I took Taekwondo for a lot of years. And when I first started taking it, I was like, "This is Korean." I didn't even know. Like I just thought it was like it's different karate. I just clumped it all together. So I was like really trying to make this epic, kind of fantasy martial arts thing, and it's really stupid. But I just you got to start somewhere. But the blank page killed me on that.
Yeah, because I think.
But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know anything.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of it's like not like it's important to care about what you're doing, but to an extent you have to allow yourself like actually thinking about it, all three of our ideas, if we just premised them in a sentence, are pretty silly.
Well, I mean, think about this. Everything that I've ever done that's either been a project by myself or even like some of the bands that actually did stuff that I was in. It all started with friends hanging out, and someone says, "Hey, wouldn't it be funny if?"
Right.
Everything starts there. Or sometimes it starts with, "Wouldn't it be cool if?" But the cool if stuff, then you try too hard. It has to start with funny if. and then sometimes it goes serious. Like that band Pitch Black that we ended up becoming like this horror punk band and stuff. We were going to be a joke band that did 80s hair metal but played in hardcore punk style. And because we called that music, I don't know if you remember, everyone calls it hair metal nowadays, but we used to call it cock rock, we used to call it butt rock, we used to call it butt rock. So our band was Pitch Black, that was singing all dark stuff, was originally going to be called The Butts. And that was
a great band name.
That started, we were 20, I don't know, later 20s, 26, 27, and we were at a bar, and we said, wouldn't it be funny if? And it ended up being this band that I toured all over the place, and had all these great experiences with. If we did the Butts, we wouldn't have gone anywhere. I'm just saying that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have bought the Butts.
Yeah, we would have played 2 shows, and that would have been it.
But I do think there is something to be said for just kind of going with it rather than being like, well, it's not perfect. And then like there's this other idea, and what do I want to commit to this? Like, just go with it and allow yourself to write a story, and then maybe the story sucks or maybe it's great.
I have a go with it thing right now. So all these notes that I've shown on screen here a couple times. It's a small project. It's gonna be about 5 or 6 episodes, maybe even less. Because I should have already been putting out the episode, but I'm having too much fun finishing the project. So I'm just do like 4 episodes to finish it and get it out there. The next thing that ties in is loosely script with points that I need to hit, things I need to say that take place in the 60s and in the Old West in this time period. But it's open, so if I want to do a skateboard graphic, I'll do a skateboard graphic. But it's kind of open. So that's I'm going to see how that works, which I think is like kind of what you're talking about, Josh, a little bit. In that it's like I drank all the juice, I'm sorry.
Dylan just popped in. He wanted to know how long we were going. We've been on for a little over an hour now, Dylan.
But that's one of those things where I'm like, I've got the plot points, but it's going to be loose. Like I can hold off on a plot point, or because it's also a vehicle to finish my projects that all now tie in together. But yeah, so that one is not tightly scripted. It's the script for that looks like this. This is just my checklist for music that I have to do, or like tracking and mixing for one of the songs for the thing. But basically, it's like a couple pieces of paper like this in a notebook, and it's just like plot points have to hit in order. How I do it, I don't know. But yeah, if it was like the cartoon, that has a script, right? But it also didn't start that way, because I thought it was going to be a comic book at first, and I thought it was going to be a World War II thing, and then I thought it was going to be a film noir thing, and it didn't end up being either one of those. And I started with scenes that I wanted to see. I had a character, a main character, and scenes I wanted to see. And then I wrote those scenes down, and then I put them in an order that made a story. So that was a little. That's another little different thing too. So that's, I think, what I was kind of alluding to in the beginning. I was like, I'm kind of getting a little experimental now, I'm gonna be 55 next month. I'm like I don't know. Is anything gonna like change my life? So might as well just have a good time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But there is that just like the cartoon being the tightest, even though it didn't start that way, and these other two tie-in projects to it. It's almost that like, all right, you've got enough, and you've done enough. Go.
Yeah.
And now I tried that with a webcomic back when we were doing Big Illustration Part-Time, and that failed miserably. Because I did have that, all right, you got enough, go. And then I was like, I'm stuck. So actually I did get stuck. In, what was that, 2009 or whatever?
But I think that's where that balance between not being too precious, but also setting up some boundaries is like, it's like a perfect medium, where it's like
I using that analogy again. I did kind of build guardrails.
Yeah.
And now to use another one, if I'm skateboarding, I can either ollie the 50-50 or I can do a board slide. Whatever. You know what I mean? But the guardrails are there.
Yeah. No, I totally I gotcha.
Scott.
Yes.
You're in the crosshairs.
All right.
What was the question again? I probably derailed it by going too far. Just talking about like weird structures and just going for things.
Oh, didn't I answer that or?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Josh answered it or asked it differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I went that way.
No, I love where you went. I think it's more just like Scott, like, when it comes to this story, like and Young in the Dead, actually, you mentioned like this first, you were even mentioning this at the top where you were saying, hey, this kind of started out almost like a silly idea.
Right.
And then as you're writing it, you're like, wait a minute, there's like depth to these characters. Like this could actually have some meaning. And I feel like that's a similar thing to what happened with Young and the Dead. Do you think
I wonder if maybe that's just my process. Maybe I just start with an idea and then I make it work. I don't know,
Did you prior to those have like those moments of like having a book where you were too precious and it never got done?
Yeah. The first comic I started back. This is back in the 90s when I didn't know what I wanted to do. One part I thought I was going to send my submissions out to like Marvel and DC and all these companies, but I didn't want to send. I wasn't sending like Spider-Man or anything. I was sending my own ideas, which that's not going to work. But I didn't know any different. But anyway, that comic was called Retrofits, and it was kind of a weird, kind of a superhero type story. But that was the one where I started and stopped and started it probably about 5 times. Like the first 4 pages, I've shown on my channel, if you go way back probably, and maybe sometime I'll show it again just to make a point. But I showed each version of those 5 pages as I drew them over and over, and they do gradually get better. But I was in a loop where it's just like, I'm never going to get this thing done. And then after a while, it's just like I abandon it or whatever. Partially because I still think it's kind of an interesting story, but it's so dated now. It's basically about this teenage bubblegum pop group that disappear off the face of the earth. Then they reappear like 20 years later and they've got superpowers, but they don't know why or whatever. And there were so many jokes with like character out of time jokes from when they were originally a band in the 70s to at what was then modern times at the 90s, and none of that stuff works anymore. And it's just so it's just like, I don't know. It's just, you can still tell it, but it wouldn't have it just wouldn't have the same, because it would be a character coming from the 70s, which is now so many 50 years in the past to the 90s. So it just doesn't.
I get that stuff, especially working in the two of the time periods I'm working in. This project, the 60s and the Old West, and there's a term for it. I just learned and I forgot.
If you remember,
but it's a term. I think I just saw it like yesterday or the day before, and it's kind of what modern writers have been using this term for maybe just in this century, but it's things that are correct, like what was some of the examples? Some of the examples were like some of the technology that was around. It was like mechanical stuff that was around in the medieval times, but it still hasn't changed that much in modern times. So if people see it or read about it in the story, whether prose, movie, comic, it'll take them out of the story. They'll think it's too modern, but it's actually a real thing. So there's like a story or a term where people take actual historical fact out of things to make it seem more what people think.
Yeah.
That's like that. I can't remember what the term is, but
it's like that reality is stranger than fiction thing, where there are some things that are real that are so insane, that nobody would believe it in a book.
But sort of. Anyway, what you're saying, Scott, remind me of that, and it is that stranger than fiction thing too. Especially the farther away I'm removed from the band lifestyle I had and some of the stories I have. When I retell some of the stories, I'm like, that sounded like bullshit. but because it's not my life anymore. It sounds so crazy.
I have that with two stories a lot too, where I'm writing book 2 of that. I'm working on that right now, and that's so distant now,
right?
That it does feel like a fictional character.
And
so it's like confessional autobio. It's weird. I
forgot. I was going to say something about that. I was just kind of. My daughter is very into the same kind of music I'm into, and she wants to play music, and she likes comics and manga, and she likes old horror movies, and she's really starting to like the early Victorian, like she likes these like Victorian Gothic stories and stuff, that are not Victorian Gothic stories. They are from that time, like Frankenstein, for example, or
like Not Death But Love, this strange supernatural story for Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Boom, Victorian. Just kidding.
We'll get that. She'll probably love it, but I probably will too. What am I saying? But anyway, there's stuff. She goes to her room and she looks at what I'm doing and asks me questions about it and why is this, and I'm working on this kind of 60s garage thing, and it's the music from it is very it's called proto-punk now for a reason. There's even like hardcore beats, except for like hardcore in the 80s might be like do-det, but they would go dun 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 dun, but it's still the same speed, and it doesn't sound like 60s music. It sounds 60s production, but it was real. And she was like, "No way, this is 60s." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is the 60s I like. It's punk. It's just punk before they had a name for it." And it's just like fuzz guitar rather than distortion and stuff. And I could see her face kind of have that. Like, this seems modern. And then I showed her songs from the 60s, and I'm like, this wasn't like mainstream, sha la 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 la, live for today kind of, I'm like, no, there's this whole thing. There's this whole thing going on. And she's like, oh, no way, I didn't even know about that. And it made me think about that, and just apropos, my phone was listening or whatever, and said, here, watch this video about the subject, about people not getting what was actually before. And I put just a verse and a chorus from one of the songs on my Patreon, just the demo when I was testing stuff out. And one of the comments on it was, man, this is so punk. But it's got fuzz tone, and all that stuff. But what it's just so there is that kind of thing. But anyway, at the same time, I'm like, oh, okay, kid, you like this old stuff? I'll show you this, and here's this actor or actress or whatever, and it's just like, who? Like Don Knotts was huge. You don't know Don Knotts.
yeah.
But
seriously, if you guys are watching this and you don't know Don Knotts, like that should be your YouTube search for the next year.
There's a bunch of great Don Knotts stuff. Movies and stuff. Apple Dumpling Gang might still be on YouTube right now too. I watched it a few months ago.
Or even Mr. Furley.
Yep. And Mr. Lippet.
Yep.
What is it? The Incredible Mr. Lippet?
I think so. Yeah.
Something like that. That's a good one. But yeah, it almost ties into what you were saying before, not calling something AI automaton.
Yeah.
Or automaton. Sorry. And I feel like that feels retro. Also because it goes back a few hundred years. But it also feels very 80s because we were hearing that a lot in the 80s still.
Mm-hmm.
In like the sci-fi stuff, and because we had so much rerun stuff on TV.
Yeah.
Back then. So.
Yep.
I don't know. So that works. But and then we also had all the rad Japanese stuff that was also like pretty pop culture for us. Godzilla movies and
nowhere near as much as today, but yeah.
No, but we had like in Godzilla, there's Jet Jaguar,
yeah,
or Jet Jaguar, however they said it, and then we had all the like Shogun Warriors,
yep,
and all that kind of stuff. So, Ultraman, dude, I have I think it's the first Ultraman. He's the one I grew up with from the '60s.
Yeah, with Bemular. Yeah.
I mean, I was not alive in the '60s. I was watching the reruns of it in the '70s, but I think it was in the '60s. There was a black and white version first called Ultra Q or something like that. I think it was Ultra Q, and then in the '70s we got the next season Ultraman. But I'm a nerd.
I love it. Speaking of nerds, kaijus, all that stuff, is there anything else we should get to before we call it? Because I know we started kind of late, and because of the auto stuff. What do you think?
I mean we're pretty good. We got pretty much a full show. We're about at 90 minutes. So
I do have one more. I do have one thing to say. It's from the chat. Keyman says, "Fun fact," and I don't know how fun it is because I'm a little sad we missed it.
We got to vet this for fun.
A couple days ago was Don Knotts' birthday. So let's say today's Artcasters is dedicated to Don Knotts.
All right.
Yeah. I will say
Don Knotts would have been 102.
Unfortunately, this Don Knotts looking dude is going to meet a pretty devastating fate in a very brutal next panel. And I'm so excited because I'm gonna finally get to ultra violence in this comic.
Josh.
Duck Cop is going to be gory.
Josh.
Okay? He's a bastard.
Josh, you need to listen to this. I have a very important question. Very important request. You had a request for Scott about his project. Yeah. I have one for you. If he's going to meet a very gory fake, can you have him go, oh?
I'm going to make a note to do that. That's brilliant.
What? I don't know, Andy. So let me wrap this up for everybody. Writing. It's fun.
It is.
My name's Kevin. You from the Artcasters. Here on my channel. Let's go, Josh. What's going on? You got that going on?
Yeah.
I'm impressed. How much you did. Like you just busted out that panel. And when we started, you were working on the other one, so that's pretty rad.
Yeah, these are really loose and fun. So But if you want to follow All Duck Cops Are Bastards, follow me on Instagram, Joshua Kemble. I'll probably be posting this one today. I just post it as I go. Also, check out Quarterly Stories, which is my graphic novel that's more serious. It's kind of about faith and mental illness, autobio, super confessional, black and white indie comic style book. Check out Jacob's Apartment, story about a doomed romance of two polar opposite roommates finding themselves. And then also, the most important thing, pre-order Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, my graphic novel that's going to be released in September, which is coming closer and closer. I'll have actual copies to show you guys pretty soon of like the hardcover, but I would order the hardcover. It's going to be a beautiful book. And that's my wares. Scott, what do you got? How do people follow as you're making this amazing mech hip-optimist rhyme business? How do they get Young and the Dead? And then after that, even today, we had Artcasters on 3 different channels temporarily.
Yeah, almost.
How do people keep track? How do they know where to go?
All right. Yeah, so first of all, Young and the Dead, Kids versus Zombie Adventure Story. Just think Goonies meets Night of the Living Dead. You can find this at circworks.com. This is the complete story right here. If you want to find out what's going on while I work on my new story, Hip Optimus Rhyme, definitely check out my YouTube channel, Circworks Art Labs on YouTube, where I give art advice and inspiration on how to make comics. And just got a brand new video up there today, so hop over there and check that out. And then this show, the Artcasters, we do the show every single week. It kind of bounces back and forth between Josh's channel, Kevin's channel, my own. And sometimes things go crazy on one of our channel, and then we have to hop over to the other one. It gets very confusing. But if you join the mailing list, you'll be alerted. Although, sorry, we didn't alert people where we were going, that we moved over to Kevin's after this. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, it's been 3. I feel like it's been 3 shows, 3 technical difficulties in a row.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but lately we've been running into all these technical difficulties, and I don't know why, but I think here on Kevin's channel it seems to be working pretty well. So
yeah, like I said, this is the only place where the internet didn't affect the world tonight.
Yeah.
Also,
but anyway,
real quick before you get to that, before I forget, I like that you have a dossier for your comic.
Oh yeah. It's just basically, it's
and I like that I got to use dossier. I've never used that in a series before.
Because I don't necessarily use like sketchbooks and stuff. I just draw on loose sheets of paper, but I like to collect all that together. So it's a good way for me to keep all my sketches and my notes and all that stuff in a folder. So so anyway, again, just join the mailing list. We don't spam or anything like that. We just alert people where we're going to be, what channel, and all that stuff, who the guest is. Last but not least, I wanted to thank the chat. And I know not everyone was able to migrate over to here, so YouTube didn't, like we said, that's why you join the mailing list, because YouTube doesn't always notify people. But I did see we had a person who said that they watched the Artcasters, but this is the first time they've been able to join in the chat, that they're from Europe. So where is it? Kevin Patoon, welcome. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for jumping in the chat. And thanks for everyone, both here on this chat for this one and the one that we tried to do before, which I'm thinking maybe we just delete that, Josh. That first one.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you to the chat. Thank you to everyone that's watching after the fact. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Have a good night, guys.